Hello, my name is Mary, and this is my channel, A Mary Stitcher. I can also be found on Instagram under A Mary Stitcher. Today it is, July 19th, and we are halfway through the year, so it's time for a mid-year WIP parade. So first, I'll lay out kind of what got me to where I am right now, because it's been a long time since my last floss tube, mainly because I've been almost monogamous on each stitch that I was working on, and also because of just a lot of things going on in life in general. So here's the scenario. I last fall started looking at my WIPs, and I realized that I was doing a lot of smaller and mid-sized WIPs and kind of skimming over some of the older, larger WIPs that I had. I had WIPs from 2021, I had WIPs from 2022. I just felt like I wanted to bring the date line up a little bit and get some of the bigger things that I felt like I might be avoiding a little across the finish line. So first thing I did was attack my oldest WIP, which was from 2021, and that was this one. Let's see, here we go. My Bristol. And I actually finished her in October. So I felt pretty good about that. This is one I had been working on for a very long time, and it was on 46 count. So I sort of had pushed it aside and pushed it aside. Now I need to figure out where I'm going to put that. There we go. So I finished that, kind of got a little wind at my back, and decided, all right, I'm going to do what Karen, the recovering monogamous stitcher, does, and I'm going to pick a focus project. And I was actually lucky enough recently to get one of Barry from Stitch Folks Focus Projects bag. So I actually have been using the Focus Project bag, put my oldest WIP in it. And what Karen does with hers is she'll do 7 days of stitching on her focus project during each month. And I tried that, and it wasn't meshing with the way I work and the way I think. So I decided that I would sort of combine it with the 24/7 idea of just doing about a half an hour a day on a project to get some momentum going on that. So what I do with my focus project is I will put in 1 or 2 lengths of thread, and then I'll spin the decision wheel, and that'll tell me what to work on as far as my other WIPs go. I have found that for me, touching a project every day helps me keep that momentum. I don't kind of fall in love with another thing when my 7 days are done. It just works out better for me. And that's the secret, I think. You've got to sort of take some of these good ideas that we see from some of our favorite floss tubers and adapt them to what works for you. So for me, every day touching a project keeps me going, keeps me from setting it aside, because I always say to myself, hey, I only need to do this for half an hour and then I can roll on over to something else. Well, when I had that Bristol and then the next 2 that I'll show you that I finished, I found that had been, good grief, let's speak English. I had been sort of setting those aside and skirting around them and always grabbing something else. So I was able to really buckle down and get them done. So the next thing that I did is I looked at my 2022 WIPs, and I only had a couple of them. And the first one that I took care of was the Family Patchwork Sal from Modern Folk Embroidery. In fact, what I need to do, there we go. Here's what it looks like. Whoops, sorry, let me see if I can get that. There we go. That is Jacob's design for the Family Patchwork. Now, this had started out as the annual sal for 2020, but I hadn't even come back to stitching at that point, and I didn't know who Jacob was. And so I found this later when I saw Sarah of Sew Me Sarah do hers. And I fell in love with it, went and, got a PDF of it, quick as a wink, and started. Now what I did for mine is I recharted some of the houses. Oops, let me see if I can get that to focus. Oh, lordy. There we go. Okay. Now I have recharted the houses on this in the center section of either one to look like houses that our family has lived in. And you've got, let's see if I can get a better, hold please. There we go. Golly. Not perhaps the smoothest transition ever, but hey, we're going to roll with it. All right, here's what we've got. Yee, okay. It's okay. All right, so here it is. And you can see, let me talk over this. Here, this house and this house. This is our house that we used to live in Texas. This is the house that we're working to remodel here in Pennsylvania. And down at the bottom, this little cottage has been adapted to look like the teeny tiny cottage that my son lives in. So this is my version of the family patchwork Sal, and I've got initials of our family on here. So that one I started on January 1st of 2022, and I finished on December 15th of 2025. So I'm still in the end of last year, but it was such a big piece, and I had put off the recharting and for so long. Now this is done on Seraphim 40 count winter white linen, and the floss on this one is a thread gatherer silk from their Silk and Colors line called Finnegan's Fog. And you can't tell it here, but it has deep browns and teals and those kind of colors in it. So it's really hard to get a good read on it, but it's just a beautiful floss. I really like it a lot. So that is my next finish. Whoops, hello. After that, I had a long dog. A long dog that I had started at StitchCon in 2022. So that's June of 2022. I had started this long dog. It's called Saint Senok. And here, let's see if I can get a good read on it. Whoops. Wow, the glare. Daylight's really, it's a blessing and a curse. But you can see this for a long dog is very colorful. I liked the stylized letters, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go that way. Now you can kind of see there are a whole bunch of little tiny doodads in between the letters. Those are all done in red. You'll see when I did mine, and you'll see it has a dark border all the way around. Well, I'm the queen of border dropping, and I find that if I'm going to try and frame something, I probably don't want that much of a linear border around it, because that's going to make it harder to, it's going to make it more noticeable if I get something slightly off center or if there's a wobble in one of the lines. So for me, that border had to go. It also just felt so dark. And when I was stitching it, what I liked about it is that white background made it feel pretty light. All right, so here we go. Set this guy up. All right. I added a few colors. I didn't just use the colors that Jules did, but that is my version of Saint Senok. You can see there are still a few little red doodads in between the letters, but that's about 20% of the amount of little red doodads that were scattered in her original design. So this just felt a little bit lighter and more lifted, if that makes sense. Some of the letters had a lot of solid fill in, and for instance on this one I didn't do the background color in this sort of a lacy bit because I liked the way it looked when it was just the green over the white. So again, it's just another WIP that had been hanging around since 2022, and I finished this one on May 7th of this year. So I feel really good that these sort of three big ones that had just been lurking in the background, making me feel guilty every time I didn't pick them up. I really feel good about having them done. I'm pondering how I want to finish them, fully finish them, obviously. These are big enough that they're all going to be framed in some capacity. I have looked around at garage sales, thrift stores. I've picked up some big frames, and what I may do is use our miter saw to cut them down, and we'll see. But I may want to put glass on some of them, which may mean that I need to get an actual frame with glass made up and get the spacers to keep the glass off the stitches. So that is what we have for finishes. Now we'll go into the straight up WIP Parade. Let's see. And I'm going to go from oldest to newest because that's how I track everything. So that's the way it is. All right, now my oldest WIP now is from 2023. And 2023 was a big start year for me. I started a lot of stuff, quite a few of them. They're pretty good sized. So I'll be working on 2023 for a while. But I'll keep at it just the way I did, which is a couple of threads a day or more if I get on a roll on my focus project. So right now my focus project is from the Blue Flower, and it is Huckleberry Farm. Lots of people have done this one. It's a beautiful stitch, but as I so often do, I had to tinker around with it and make it my own. So I took this alphabet out and the saying about one for me, one for the basket. It wasn't working for me. So what I decided to do was I moved the butterfly up here. I put in my own saying, which is a quote from the Greek philosopher Zeno that I actually got out of a Mary Engelbreit cross-stitch book. It was in a design that she did, and I thought, I like that saying. That's a good one. So I went ahead and put that in there, moved the butterfly, moved some of this around here in the middle. I left this smaller alphabet in with the little creature snoozing on the side. The bottom row is essentially the same, and I will have to do these vines up the side still. This gal looked a little tall to me in relation to the bear, so I shortened my gal up just basically by chopping the dress down. So we'll show you what that looks like. And here she is. Oh, uh-oh. The magnets on my on my needle minders are hanging out. So this is my current WIP that I'm working on right now as my focus project. And you can see how most of the elements are true to the original design, just that center section with the saying. And the saying is, the goal of life is in living in agreement with nature. That's what it is, agreement. So again, I lifted that right out of a cross-stitch book that I already had and plunked it in here because it just seemed good with this sort of outdoorsy, naturey vibe. So that's what I'm working on now. My hope is to finish this one by the end of this month. So I should be able to do that. So next, okay, I need to move that. Next, and on Huckleberry Farm, I stitched that one on 40 count linen hand dyed by Stephanie, and the colorway was Jamie's Kilt. Sorry, skip that. And I used almost all the called for over dyes unless there were things that didn't show up quite the way I wanted to on the fabric. So just a little tinkering for the sake of fabric blending. I started that on my birthday in 2023. So that was a 2023 start. Next one is also a 2023 start, but this one goes up to August 1st, 2023. I started Summer Quaker from Leela's Studio. And this was part of a sal with Samantha, the Huga Stitcher, and lots and lots of people have done it. I think Samantha has maybe finished hers. I'm pretty sure I saw hers finished. A lot of people have finished this already, and I really love it. Some of them, I know Laura Stitching by the Shore took out the mermaid and put in a turtle, and people have tinkered with it a little bit. I haven't changed much of anything on this one. I'm stitching it on a Picture This Plus 18 count Aida, and the colorway is Fog. I'm using the Call for DMCs, which are bright and pretty. I have shifted around a few things. One of the things I did is there's a little sand dollar. Where is he? Over here. And it was so close to the color of my fabric that I decided to stitch mine in a lavender color, because when sand dollars are alive in the ocean, they're actually a really pretty lavender color. So that's what I did. I have to get this up here. There we go. All right, here we go. So here's my progress on Summer Quaker. And you can see down in that lower corner, the sort of purpley bit, that's the sand dollar. So we're doing a living sand dollar instead of a shell. And that's where I am. So you can see I'm making pretty good progress around. One or two things I've changed. I have spaced out, like I put a little yellow doodad here and a red heart instead of the color it was charted in. But again, it's just to balance the colors. Also on this one, there's been a lot of talk, and a lot of people did what I did, and I'm probably not the first one who thought of it. I just happened to notice it, that summer on the chart, summer is SUMMRE if you're going around. And that's sort of the way I think. I think a little bit in sort of a more linear way. So what I did, and what many other people have also done, I'm sure many of them before I ever realized it, is switched the E and the R so that summer flowed around this way. It meant moving a few things around just a tiny bit. But so that's the way I stitched I did the summer. Now, there's no right way. There's no wrong way. It's just what you like best. So you can stitch it exactly the way it was designed. It's beautiful. But for me, I'm just weird, and I like things to sort of be in a line. So that's where I am on Summer Quaker. Let's see. Put that down there. And Summer Quaker, as I said, was started on August 1st of 2023. And the name of that Sal, if you want to look it up, is Live in the Sunshine Sal. And that has to do with the quote on the stitch. Alrighty. The third WIP that I have is My Forest Home. There it is. I'll try and see if I can get this without horrific glare. This is another one from the Blue Flower. I love Janine's charts. She does animals so well, and she's got such a great style. This one's called Forest Home. And originally, I think this was a retreat piece a few years ago for Acorns and Threads in Portland. That's what it was, Acorns and Thread. And I grabbed it as soon as I could get my hands on it because I just think it's pretty. And I lived up in the Northwest, and this is a very Northwesty vibe to it. So I liked it a lot. So that's Forest Home. And I have not really made any changes to this one, which is unusual for me. I'm almost always tinkering with colors and whatnot. But you can see I've got a pretty good start on this one. Ooh, glare. Let's see. There we go. That's a little bit better. So you can see I'm making pretty good progress. Honestly, I'm probably about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way done. It's a pretty stitch heavy area. There's a big deer in there that's pretty much all stitched. So wow, the lighting, it's like a light show here. The sun is moving around, pushing out from the clouds today. All right, so here's where I am on that one. Doing really well. That's another one that I have on my goal list to finish for this year. We'll see how that works out. Should be fine. Let's see, and on that one, it's stitched on 20 count Aida from Be Stitch Me, in the color Not Another Sampler, which, as you can see, oops, a little thread there, is beautiful and is a wonderful sampler color. So again, really pretty, good neutral. You can do so much with it, and white shows up on it, which is of course always the acid test of is it a great fabric? If the white shows up, you're in good shape. And on that one, I'm doing it all in the called for over dies. I started that on August 11th of 2023. Next, and we're still in 2023 here, I have from Shakespeare's Peddler, also known as Teresa Vanette, also known as Kitten Stitcher. This is M. Satterthwaite. And this is a really pretty Quaker. I like hers, it's done in black. This is a good one to think about if you have fallen in love with something like Anne Grimshaw, a big black Quaker. That is just gorgeous, but for some people might feel a little daunting. This is different, obviously, the motifs are completely different, but it has that same sort of a feel to it, that feeling of being a true antique. Looks great in almost any fabric you want to do it in, and I'm sure a lot of people will stitch it in black. I'm a troublemaker. I don't do things like that. So what I did is I stitched it, and I have a spool of it right here. I stitched it in a Vicky Clayton silk, and the color, let's see if you can see it. The color is, I'm trying to see if I can get the camera to focus. Nope. It's called Unmasked. But you can see the color here. It's a teal, and it goes light to dark. Really good play of color in this. And so that's the color I chose to do my M. Satterthwaite in. And she is done on a piece of Fox and Rabbit 40 count flannel flower. A fabric I was so excited to find at a retreat. I literally bought like a yard. So that is where I am on M. Satterthwaite. So you can see those colors are just beautiful. And the flannel flower is a great color for this because there's a lot of play and movement in the fabric, but it's not too light and not too dark. I really like this one. So that is M. Satterthwaite. So next newest one is from September of 2023, and that is from Luminous Fiber Arts, Misty Purcell, Enchanted Quaker. Now, there are a lot of kind of holiday Quakers out there. There's more than one type of a Halloween-based Quaker design, and they come in all shapes and sizes, and I think they're all cool. But this one has that thing that Misty is so good at, which is a little bit of a retro vibe, some kind of cuteness, not like super spooky. It's intentionally just sort of a light, fun switch. And you can do it in black as she's done it here on her model. But of course, I like to do it my own way. I like to go rogue. So what I did is I got an Aida. I believe this one is 18 count Aida from Picture This Plus, and the colorway is Da Vinci. So you can see it's a beautiful lavender. There's little bits of pinks and creams woven in there, well, splashed in there with the dye. And instead of going with straight black, I used another Vicky Clayton silk color, and it's called Old Maid of the Abyss. And you can see, if you look at the cat and then you look at the witch's hat, there's really good contrast. These flosses go from dark to light. There's a really good mixture. You can see some of the play in the house and in the cauldron that you get from stitching your X's around a little bit, mixing it up. But this one is Enchanted Quaker. And again, this is another one I would love to finish this year. Will it happen? Anybody's guess. Who knows? So that one, let's see. Then I have, still in 2023, getting close to the end of 2023. This is Halloween. On Halloween, I started the Carolyn Manning chart called Halloween Hijinks. I had seen Pam and Steph doing that stitching on this one, and I thought it was super cute, a lot of fun, very colorful, and I had always wanted to do a Carolyn Manning, but Carolyn Mannings have a lot going on. This one is no exception. So I tried to think about how many, even at that time, how many WIPs I had, what was I going to do, where was I going to put it, how was I going to display this, how was I going to FFO. So what I did is I took a working copy of this, the main chart, and I sort of played cut and paste. I literally cut up all the cubes. Whoops, I'm getting a terrible glare here, I'm sorry. And so while this doesn't look like it's radically different in size, this is about 2/3 of the number of squares as the original. And what I was able to do was keep all the fun motifs I like the little ghost with the smile. There are some of these that take up more than one square that makes a longer motif. Some of them make one going up or to the side. So what I did is I kept all of those, and I took out some of the ones where it would just be polka dots or stripes or something very, just almost a solid. And I just eliminated those and then shuffled around the other ones. What I got was all the fun and the color and the look of this Carolyn Manning, but in a more manageable sized piece or group of pieces that I could do it. And I'm doing it with the called for DMCs. The only thing I'm going to do that's different is on the ghosts. Everywhere there's a ghost, I'm going to try and do those in glow in the dark DMC. And other than that, everything's going to be just following the DMC that Carolyn recommended. So I figured having the little ghosts be glow in the dark might be fun. So that is the design. I'm doing it on a 20 count white Aida, I believe. Aida, yes it is. White Aida, 20 count white Aida. And so you can see it's not going to be super big, but look how pretty that is. It's just so fun and colorful. It's easy to stitch on the Aida. A lot of color changes, obviously, but I really love the size that I came up with, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that is Halloween Hijinks. Now I'm getting up to December of 2023, and for the winter solstice, I decided I wanted to do a Joan Elliott, so I picked up Winter Solstice. And I really like this design, but as is so often the case with me, you're biting off a lot, and I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. So what I did, because this is sort of a band sampler, is I am using the bottom band, the animals. I'm not doing the moon phases. I am doing the fairy panel, and I'm not doing the bird. I'm simply trying to decide whether I'm going to take out winter and just do solstice, because it's quite obvious from the fact that it's a wintry type of a scene that it's winter solstice and not summer. So it'll just become a little shorter without the bird, without the winter. I'll leave these little doodads here, and then I'll finish out with these little doodads here. So it's shrinking to about 3/4 of the size that it is now. It'll still be pretty, it'll still be impressive. It'll really focus on this panel more, and then these panels will be sort of supporting characters. And that's the way I'm going on this Joan Elliott. Now hers is done in black on white, which is beautiful, but I like a little more color. And what I decided to do was I got 20 count Fiber on a Whim Blueberry as my color. And here is where I am. So I've got really kind of an itty bitty start, but you can see how good that blue is highlighting the black. And for the floss on this one, I'm doing Stitchy Box Silk in the color Bat Orchid. Bat Orchid is one of my favorite Stitchy Box silks. I really like it. I'm trying to think where I think it was Michelle Bendy Stitchy, who I first saw stitching with some of the Stitchy Box flosses, and she talked about Bat Orchid being a really good black to work with. I agree. So next we have, I'm into 2024. All right, 2024. The annual sale for 2024 from Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery was No Time Like the Present. The first time I saw this, I couldn't wait to get my hands on it because it involved a clock. It's done by Jacob, who I just think is a genius, and it looked wonderful. So the other thing Jacob did besides showing this beautiful one is he did some computer-generated other colorways that people could do to say, okay, how do I make it my own? Maybe I try one of these other colors. Well, for me, troublemaker that I am, I couldn't just do 2 colors. I needed to do 3 colors, and for a couple of reasons. The squirrel, the deer, and the other squirrel, and the birds. Now the birds are done in relief with the blue background, which is great. I didn't want a blue squirrel. I didn't want to, I didn't want blue animals. And I was going to do mine in blue and green colors. So here's what I came up with. That's Jacob's vision. And this is mine. I used 3 colors of Gloriana silks. They are hazelnut for the brown and the animals, and the sand in the hourglass and the moon phases. That's hazelnut. The green is Gloriana Granny Smith apple, and the blue is Northern Lights, which is one of my favorite from Gloriana. And you can see I'm coming along. I'm probably about 2/3, maybe almost 3/4 done. Again, I would love to finish this year, but this is such a wonderful design. It's really a pleasure to stitch. But it is stitch heavy, so I'm not making the kind of time that I might always like to, but it's always enjoyable stitching. So that one was started on New Year's Day of 2024. I stitched it on 40 count platinum from Zweigart and with those Gloriana silks, so pretty straightforward. Now, 24 was a year, I tried everything, I started everything, I had a lot of things. So for my birthday stitch, I started a Mirabilia. This is an out-of-print Mirabilia that I was able to get, and it's called Shimmering Mermaid. Unbeknownst to me, one of the harder Mirabilias to switch because it's got 80 bajillion kinds of Kreinik in it, a lot of color changes, not the big swaths of color that you get with some of the Mirabilias where you can kind of get in the groove and do some solid patches. There's not a lot of solid patches in here. It's beautiful. I love it, but oh my gosh, it's one of those where it's like, oh, do I have the energy tonight to do that one? So I'm working on her. I'm not as far along as I would like to be, but it is beautiful. She's going to be gorgeous. And thankfully, I got most of the Kreiniks before Kreiniks got so hard to find. It's hard to find a lot of colors in Kreinik right now, but I think I've got all the ones I need. So there we are. That is what Shimmering Mermaid will look like someday. And I am stitching mine on Picture This Plus 36 count Tidal, Tidal. And I really like this color. I tend to do my Mirabilias on 36 count because I'm a 1-strand stitcher. So, and then I just work around the beads. But here she is, and you can see the colors are beautiful. It's going to be wonderful. The water, this is showing as a lot more gray and kind of dull of a fabric color. But this title, has almost a very tropical water look. So I'm excited to continue with that one. She's going to be great, but she is not easy. Then we have, let's see, 2024 was a leap year. Many people picked up long, big charts and decided, I'm going to do this over the course of 4 years. And there were people who did it with long dogs. There were people who did it with mirrors, big mirrors. All kinds of people started leap year projects where they were going to give themselves 4 years to finish the piece, try and break it up into little bite-sized chunks. That's such a great idea. Did I do it? No. I chose to join in with the group that was doing a peacock, a unicorn, a badger from Scarlet Letter, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous chart. I fell in love with this when I went to StitchCon. The one time I've been to StitchCon in 2022, there was a gal who was just finishing or had brought it for the brag table, her peacock unicorn badger, and she had done where it's done like a full-on tapestry, every stitch, full coverage. That thing was breathtaking. It was so beautiful. So I knew that someday I wanted to stitch it. So I thought that'd be a good one. If I broke it up over 4 years, it'd be fantastic. I'll be able to get it done in 4 years. When you see the start that I have on this piece, you're going to wonder if I have any chance in heck of being able to finish it between now and the next leap day, which is about 19 months away. I got to buckle up and strap in and get it done because I really do want to have it done. But I may have to do this the same way I do with my focus projects and sort of run a dual focus where I do 1 or 2 threads or more on my true focus at the time, and then the next hour of the evening maybe goes to this. So start the prayer circle now. I may need help. I may need all of your good wishes to get it done. So that one is done on the wonderful fabric from Roxy Floss Co. that Carrie dyed for us, which is called Pub Crawl. And this takes up a lot of the background stitching. The other thing it does is make my eyeballs scream. It's beautiful, but this is a 40 count. What possessed me to get a 40 count? I'm not entirely sure, but there you go. So that's my little Boo Boo Baby start. The colors are showing up great. I'm stitching this in the Vicki Clayton Silks, HDF Silks conversion. And those silks are so gorgeous and they look so good on this fabric. I just need to get a really good light, maybe some magnifying, and I need to buckle up and get it done. Because this is going to be wonderful. But that's how far along I am. So place your bets, folks, on whether I'll get it done in time for leap day. Okay, next we have another Mirabilia. Again, 2024 was the year of starting stuff. Lots of stuff. This is Lady Justice. Now this is another one that I have Pam from Just Keep Stitchin' to thank, because Pam did this in the called for colors and it's so beautiful. It's just, I loved that, the sharpness of the green and the teal together. I know there's people online who have done color conversions of their own where it's somebody did sort of a red, white, and blue version. There have just been people who didn't love those colors who went ahead and changed them. I personally really like that. There's just something, there's really a great look to that, in my opinion. And when I saw Pam's, it was like, oh yeah, I'm leaving the colors alone. So I started this on Mother's Day in 2024. So that puts us at May 12th, 2024. And here's what it should look like now. And I think that chart is still available. I don't think that's a discontinued one. Now I stitched this on, oh look, color and cotton, white tee. Golly gee, the glare, I'm so sorry. It's like disappearing. Anyway, lighting challenges. Hard and appropriate that I have my Pam and Steph needleminder on this, because I think of Pam every time I work on this. And this is, yes, this is the right direction. So you've got the beginnings of the dress here, and that little swath of the sash coming out the back. But it looks great on the white tee. It's not a stark white, and it's just a joy to stitch with. Color and cotton linens are really good. I don't have a ton of them, but I really like their linens. Okay, and again, I'm doing her on 36 count. Now, we were talking about my somewhat sad little start for Peacock Unicorn Badger. My next one that I have going on is Florence Mary Dickinson from Hands Across the Sea. This is one, oh lordy, just had a little fall. Hang on a second here. I don't want my cat to wander over and decide he needs to lay down on these. There we go. Oops, sorry. Anyway, Brenda of Brenda and Laura stitched this not too terribly long ago, said it was one of her favorites ever. I loved the colorfulness of it, and I thought, gosh, I really want to do that too. So I jumped in on, let's see, what day was that? Oh yeah, June 24th of 2024. And I have not hardly been back since, which is sad, but it's just there was always something else, always something that was closer to a finish. So she was getting pushed aside and pushed aside. Hopefully now that I'm using the Sal wheel to sort of randomize who I stitch on after I'm done with my focus projects, that will make it, I'll hit it more and be able to stitch her. So this is what it's supposed to look like. And you can see the colors are so pretty. That yellow flower in the middle, I like it. Anyway, there's that one. And I am stitching her on 46 count. That may be another reason I've gone back, is I'm doing her on 46, which is a little tight. But this is Thornfield from Needle and Flax. My favorite linen is Needle and Flax linen. And there you go. That's a pretty good representation of the color. And you can see that whip-roaring start there. So good. But you can also see that even in that little amount, here I'm trying to get this to sharpen up. There we go. You can see how pretty just even that little tiny bit of border is. It's just gorgeous. And this too, I've got the Vicki Clayton silk conversion. Here's the thing about Vicki Clayton silks. They are affordable. In the world of silks, they are one of the ones that's pretty affordable. And Vicki does such a range of colors. The various, she'll do colors that are just, it'll be the name of it, like, I don't know, something, and then it'll be something 1122, 1142, 16, and they're just different shades of that same colorway. And so you can achieve some really fantastic blending, even with single strand stitching, by using her silk conversions. So I really like them. Everybody likes what they like, and I'm not somebody who's had a lot of experience with Soie d'Alger's, 103s, or any of those. I'm sure they're wonderful. But I have to say that my favorite silks would be Gloriana and Vicki Clayton silks. just from the sheer amount of them that I've used and the feel of stitching with them. They seem to always work really well for me. And I know a lot of people talk about silks shredding or knotting, or I have just been lucky, I guess, because I have not encountered that with the silks that I've used for the most part. Okay, so now we're midway through 2024 now. Trust me, it gets better. This is another Leela Studio, another Sal with the Hygge Stitcher, Samantha. And this one is the Autumn Quaker. Oh, good grief, I got a blast of sunshine through my window, which means, there we go. Let's see if we can get a good angle. This one is Autumn is Joyful. And it's so cute and so fun that I thought, well, I have to be a part of that. I'm already doing the summer one, so I should probably do the autumn one as well. And I jumped into the Sal, as you do. And this is another one of those not super duper impressive starts, but I like it. Again, I'm working on 18 count Aida, which I've done with all of these pieces. I'm trying to do them on the same size Aida from Picture This Plus, so they'll be approximately the same, sorry. And what I want to do is be able to have a frame that'll work for all of them and maybe just swap them out on the wall, because that's why I'm stitching them in the same size and same count and the same fabric dyer. So here you can see I've got a little bit of a start here. I'm using all the called for DMCs, not going rogue on anything at this point, unless I come up with something that's just going to disappear into the fabric color, in which case I'll adjust a little bit one direction or the other. But it's going to be beautiful. These seasonal Quakers from Leela Studio are all really cool, and so I'm looking forward to that. I will get back to it. I'm doing it on Fawn 18 count Aida from Picture This Plus. So again, 18 count Picture This Plus Aida is what I did the summer Quaker on as well, using all the called for DMCs. And let's see, that one was started September 22nd of 24. Where's my voice going? Well, now, coffee. Time for coffee. Okay. Now, the next start that I had in 2024 was from Gigi, the Artsy Housewife, and it is A Study in Nature. I've always thought this was so pretty, and I've never met a butterfly I didn't like. But what really made it sink in for me was when I saw on the Evertote YouTube with Carolyn and Carrie. I loved the model that they had on the wall. It was done in a Roxy Floss conversion on candy apple red linen. And oh my gosh, that fabric, I love it. Because when you look in this picture, and obviously this is just a, chart, but this looks a little almost bricky, and I really prefer sort of a clearer red. So what I did is I ordered the candy apple, and it is just gorgeous. Whoopsie, hello, here we go. And there it is. Uh-oh. I need something to put this on. There we go. Here we go. Yay! There we go. Now you don't have to see through it. Now, even on my screen, it's looking a little bricky, which this is such a true red. It's looking a lot warmer. As you can see, the world's teeny tiniest start. Now, part of that is because if you look down lower, oh look, another start. I started it here, and something about it was bugging me, or I didn't like where I had placed it. So I thought, no, that's not what I want to do. So I started over again, and that's where I am now. So again, it's a long road. It'll take me a minute, but I'll get there. And it's a beautiful stitch. And really, even though this is a very colorful fabric and has a real depth of color, it's not hard to see the holes. And I'm doing that one on 36 count, which is probably why it's not hard to see the holes. But it's wonderful. I did not use the Evertotes conversion because I happen to have quite a few dinky dyes. And dinky dyes is what the original was done in. So I'm using the called for dinky dyes silks on the 36 count Candy Apple from Roxy Floss Co. So that combination is working out really well for me. Now, number 15 is a mystery. It's not really a mystery. What it is something that I've put away so cleverly that I couldn't find it. So I don't know what I have done with it. I've put it somewhere. It's probably under a stack of linen, someplace where I was trying to match up threads. I don't know. I can't find it right now. But what it is the fourth day of Christmas from Hello from Liz Matthews. And I'm doing all of mine in one long piece so that I can set it on a fireplace mantle. So I'm doing, of the 12, I'm running them 6 wide and 2 high. And if you look back at some of my other, I've done a previous WIP parade, so if you want to see what it was looking like before the last time I started. But somewhere the 4th day has got started, but the whole piece has gone AWOL. It'll turn up. It's here in my house somewhere. The question is where, so I'll keep looking. So that one's a mystery to you for now. Number 16. Now, 16, we are up to 12, 31, 25. So New Year's Eve, this past New Year's Eve, I was able to start Nora Corbett's, there it is, Poppy. Now, this is an out-of-print chart. It's one of the flower fairies, or Pixie Couture is the actual design group that this one came from. And I think that this was number 1 in that particular collection. And I really have always liked this one, but it's tricky to find. And Samantha, the Huga Stitcher, was stitching it not that long ago, and I had, messaged her and I said, hey, when the time comes that because she had talked about sending some of her other charts to some people, and I thought if you wouldn't mind, I would love to just even borrow it and send it back to you, since it's really hard to get and quite expensive if you want to buy it. She was so generous and kind. She sent it to me. And her only request was that when I was finished with it, I send it to another stitcher in the same way. And I think that that's fantastic for these ones that are out of print. It's, obviously if it was still in print, I would purchase it from the designer, but it's not. So I will happily, when I am finished with Poppy, I will happily share her with somebody else who's been wishing they could stitch this, because it's not a super complex chart. It's just that I have so many other things going on. My start's, so-so. It's better than nothing, but it's not as much as I'd like. But my goal is sometime soon to have this one finished so I can send her off. Let's see if you can get a little better. There you go. It's just very, super dramatic. Typical Nora Corbett. Lots of color and just lovely. So I am stitching Poppy in the called for DMCs, and on, there it is, some 38 count Himalayan Fog, which based on this tag I picked up from the Kitten Stitcher website. So here we go. There it is. So you have a little bit at the bottom of her dress, the way it sort of puddles out. Again, long way to go between here and here. It's a long way to go. But it's a lovely stitch, and I'm very happy to be working on it. All right. This is it, last of the whips. Number 16. Gosh, is it only 16? No, 17. Number 17. I was going to say 17. So I really have knocked my whips back. I've had very few starts this year intentionally because I wanted to work through some of these older whips. I have done some ornament stitching, and that is, I was going to try and do one a month. That's maybe not. It hasn't happened so much. But I have done a few little stitches, basically like a palette cleanser, so that, when I finished a big one, it's like, yeah, let me do this. So I would do a little one. And I think I've got 4 or 5 ornaments done, but clearly not 7, and it's July. So I need to get cracking on that. Because I would like to, again, just break the time when I finish a big one, at least do one little ornament. So the last stitch that I have, this is one of the few that I've allowed myself. It's the only large one I've allowed myself for this year, and that is this year's Modern Folk Embroidery Sal. Now, not the whole Sal, because I cut off the bottom little line there. It's a band sampler, so I cut off the bottom band, and then I did a little creative folding to eliminate another big band that's in the middle. And I have the booklet somewhere for this that shows the whole thing, and I'll just have to show it the next time I work on the whip. But this is, as Jacob does, it's such a wonderful design. But again, there were just a few pieces that seemed unnecessary for me. And again, I'm always looking for a way to sort of trim down just a little bit. And so I'm working this one in Gloriana Silk in their color Forest, which is a lovely green color. And I'm stitching it on 46 count, another 46 count Zweigart Cream, which again is just a wonderful neutral thing. The holes are going to be not shrunken from an overdying process. And here we go. I typically start on the bottom right, but in this case I decided to start on the top right. And you can see the variation in that green. It's so pretty, and it just looks so nice on this color. It's going to be a beautiful piece. But again, I allowed myself a little bit of a start, and then that was it. I went back to my plan for the year, which was to focus on bringing that date line up. Now, in a perfect world, I would finish all my 2023s this year, but that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Not based on the fact that I have as many 2023s. I may get a few of them done, but the reality of it is that this is a multi-year process. But you can see from the 3 really big ones that had been bringing up the rear that I was able to finish using this method, that there is hope. And it's not like you suddenly have to go monogamous on everything. There were times when I would go monogamous, particularly on the long dog, because it was a lot of color changes and stuff, and I just really wanted to, I'd say to myself, okay, I want to do a whole letter, or I want to do 2 letters. And so I would just keep working on the piece until I had done another letter or another 2 letters. So that is the way that worked out. It's been so long since my last floss tube. I haven't bothered to save every chart that has come into my collection. I know that when I went to the Steel City Stitchers retreat this spring, I was able to find new homes for some charts that I had already finished, and to share some things that I had purchased a long time ago and decided weren't going to work for me, because I really feel like I have so many charts, and I'm not going to tell myself, oh no, I'm not buying any new charts, because there's beautiful new charts coming out all the time. So I thought, no, I'm just going to continue to buy things that inspire me I have a bunch of things kitted, and I'll get to them, maybe. And if I don't, I don't. Oh well. When you're a stitcher of a certain age, anything can happen. I mean, anything can happen to anybody. But the bottom line is, I want to love every piece that I'm working on, and on the ones where I don't, for whatever reason, I will UFO them. In the process of doing this, getting ready for this WIP parade, I did UFO one chart. It was a class kit that, or was for a class. I loved the class. I thought the piece was wonderful, but I had not done the pre-stitching. And every time I would look at it and say, oh, that's so quick because it's a small, I'll be able to finish it. It still didn't, I still wanted to make progress on these other things more than I wanted to stitch that. So what I've done is I've UFO'd it, but I still have the chart. I still have all the notes on how to finish it that came with the class. There may come a day when that's just the perfect thing for me to stitch. It was just a small piece of linen, so it's not a big deal. So it's just UFO'd, kind of. And if I don't ever stitch it, oh well, I'll bundle it up and give it to somebody who would like to. If I do decide I want to stitch it later, it's waiting for me. So now I'm just considering it to be a kit, because I had done so few stitches in my start. It was literally, I did a little bit while watching the finishing class during the online retreat that I was working on. So that's it today. That we're off to a good start. Hopefully I will be back much sooner than I made anybody wait last time. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has reached out and checked on me. I'm doing fine. Everything's great. Nothing bad's going on. I just have been going in a lot of different directions. So sometimes you don't have the time to film a floss tube. I've also had my sister living in my house. So there's another person and a pet that's here, and that sort of affects your ability to film. So I just pushed it aside for a while. Anyway, I'm excited to be back. Please leave me a comment if you're stitching any of these pieces. If you want to comment on what you thought about them, that's great too. I'm always open. But that's it for me. I hope to be back. Let's see, we're probably in August. I won't say what time for sure because we'll see how it plays out. But I'm excited to be back recording again, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more soon. Thank you very much.